the Irrational Confidence Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and it is our annual Las Vegas episode. Fresh is going to be out there in Sin City. I'm joined by my co-host, the man who's just a devil with love to spare out there in Viva Las Vegas. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Hats, I'm super excited. We got another great week of college football coming up, but going out to Vegas with the boys. Drew will be out there, it'll, poof. We got there like late Thursday afternoon and we're there through Tuesday morning. A lot of debauchery, a lot of gambling, a lot of great food, alcohol, the whole fun thing. Hitting up a Vegas Golden Knights Senators hockey game and then hitting up the Boise State UNLV game right after that on Friday. So it's going to be a whole heck of an ordeal, and I just can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, I live vicariously through you guys this week. I'm usually out there every 3 years, but being domesticated, I have to stay home here. So, Fresh, it's a great week. We always enjoy doing this episode because you guys get to have a lot of fun out there in Las Vegas as well. Like Fresh said, our producer Drew is out there with him. They're going to be at the Boise State UNLV game. Hey, but before we do anything else, hit the subscribe button above you. Hit that notification bell. Get notified every single time that we drop a new episode here. And leave us comments. Interact with us. We like hearing what you guys' thoughts are about these games. Fresh, let's get locked and loaded. Let's start off right off the bat. This is a Friday night game. This is a big one, because this is probably for the lead in the Mountain West, possibly for kind of the front runner for the group of five in the college football playoff. The Boise State Broncos, they're 5-1, led by Genty, the man that is straight up after Barry Sanders' rushing touchdown record. They're facing the UNLV Rebels. The Rebels have been marred in controversy early on this year with the quarterback, taking the year off, going to enter back into the transfer portal. And everyone thought that they would miss a beat. Hasn't happened. They're 6-1 as well. Both these teams are undefeated in the Mountain West. Exciting times, man. You're going to be at this game. So what are you looking forward for Boise State versus UNLV?
I'm just looking at the energy from the UNLV fans. Prior to last year, they were kind of a program sort of just dormant, I think is probably the best way to put it. Barry Odom comes out there and gets them going, spearheaded by Ricky White, the third, the wide receiver, who's an absolute stud. They jumped out there and they kind of fizzled down the stretch. They were the team we were thinking, they're going to win the Mountain West. They're going to get it. They hosted the big Mountain West title game, had to play Boise State. Boise State was kind of just going through the motions. They had a coaching change mid-year, and they took them out in Allegiant Stadium and won the Mountain West. So how does UNLV respond? The last time these two teams faced, you were upset in your own conference title game, in your own arena, with everything on the line, big season, special season ahead. So how does that team come out? How does that fan base come out and really keep the anger, the focus, the business-like mentality for this ball game? Because you mentioned, everyone should know Ashton Genty is an absolute beast. He's the do-it-all for Boise State. As the team goes, he's going. If he's struggling, that team's probably going to struggle. He's got to be the focal point. Where does Boise State look to give someone else to become an additional option? It can't always be him, because if this team does win this ball game and they are the highest ranked conference champion in the group of five, and they go to the playoff, it's got to be more than just one player. This isn't the NCAA basketball tournament where one guy can go off for 35 or 40 like a Steph, Curry, or Jimmer Fredette and carry a team through the tournament. You need multiple players. So who's going to step up as we get these bigger games for Boise State? We already know the Broncos are a quality football team. They went to Eugene. They had a 3-point loss to the Ducks, who are number one according to the AP poll right now in the country. But who's going to layer on for the Mountain West? And help them drive home this title. Currently, there's 4 teams right now that are undefeated in Mountain West play. These two squads here are facing off in Colorado State, and San Diego State. So there's still a lot of challengers, but this is a chance right now to basically lock yourself into that title game and give yourself that pole position heading down the stretch in November. When you look at UNLV, you mentioned the quarterback situation. Early on, they go out there, they beat Kansas, coming off that big win. Apparently, there's verbal discussions about what people were owed through NIL, which, hey, from now on, every player should know, get it in writing, always have it documented from the team standpoint, the player standpoint. get everything in writing, and have notarized. Everyone thought they were going, yeah, they had a great quarterback. He was leading this charge. How are they going to be able to transition this offense, keep moving forward? Well, Malik Williams, quarterback, I believe he played at Campbell for the Campbell Camels, in an FCS level, transferred out to UNLV. He's taken this thing and run with it. 838 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, 2 picks, keeps the offense in the down distance, keeps them manageable, has not lost his luster, but this is going to be the biggest game he has actually had to play in his entire career. So where's his mindset at? How's he able to adjust on the fly, keep them at pace, and move this offense? Ricky White III, the best receiver on this team, 46 receptions, 614, and 9 touchdowns. He obviously is number one on the radar. So Williams has got to get him the football as much as possible. But you also got to expand your horizons. We talked about from Boise State, expand their horizons offensively outside of Genty. They've got to expand out from Ricky White III, get multiple threats. The more players you have that are become options in an offense, it stretches the defense vertically and horizontally. If both these teams can expand their offensive philosophy from a personnel standpoint and an impact standpoint, it's going to turn into a big-time shootout. I expect a lot of points in this ballgame. Both these teams have been battle-tested. UNLV's their only loss was a 3-point overtime loss in Allegiant Stadium to Syracuse. So these teams have been fighting. They've been clawing. They've been very, very good all year. This is a matchup we've been kind of circled for a long time. I'm really, really excited to see the fireworks. When it comes down to it, I think Ashton Jenkins is just too much of a beast, too much of a bull in the channel shop. He's going to overwhelm that UNLV defense. The Broncos will survive Sin City and get away with the double staying in control of their own destiny going forward.
Fresh, the best comparison I can think of while you guys are out at Vegas is there's one of the best casinos off the strip called Ellis Island. Has a great breakfast for steak and eggs, $5 craps, $5 roulette, great drink service. And as you put it, it's a place where the locals kind of hang out. It's the local casino. But it's not the casino that has the grandeur of, the Venetian or the Bellagio. It doesn't have like the coolness factor of the Aria or Cosmopolitan, but it is just like that old school, just a fun place to hang out. I could make an argument, I believe, for this being the best game of the weekend. I legitimately think that these two teams are so evenly matched. You talked about how a player needs to step up to kind of support Genty for the Broncos there. You take a look at what Maddox Madsen has been doing. In the last 4 games, 10 touchdowns to 1 interception. The kid is kind of playing that complementary football where they are using Genty to open up the passing game. And it's been really remarkable. I also look at Boise State, 29 sacks on the year. That means right now they're averaging just under 5 sacks a game. That's where the game is going to be decided out for me. Is UNLV going to be able to keep Williams' jersey clean in this game? If Boise State is going to be able to get after the quarterback, I know Williams is a dual threat quarterback. He has the ability. He's completing 70% of his passes, which is very, very impressive for him to step into the role that he is. But then he's also got 300 yards on the ground. And he's done this in, 4 games since all the hubbub happened?
Just about, 4 games.
Yeah, and so you see, like, there's an electric player on that side of the football, too. And that isn't us even talking about Ricky White III. I mean, Slick Rick here, you take a look at what he's been able to do in the last 4 games as well. The dude has 36 catches, 6 touchdowns, and over 400 yards receiving. Close to 450 here. This is one of the games where stars are made in the lower level. And again, I'm not referring to the Mountain West as like the FCS lower level, but this is where this game's not going to be on ABC. It's not going to be on Fox. It's not going to be on CBS. This is on CBS Sports Network. This is a late night game. It's 10:30 at night. Most of the people, unless you're a crazy football fanatic, you're not going to be watching this game. And I think you're going to miss out. So if you're going to Friday Night Lights on Friday, you're going to a high school football game. High school football game gets over about, 9:15, 9:30 these days. You get home. This is the game you want to find. You want to find, if you get this network, you want to find this football game. I think this game is going to get real close. I think it's going to be decided late in the fourth quarter. Boise State right now, time records, 2.5-point favorite. I'm going to go with the Broncos just because I have so much respect for Genty and what he's been able to do. But the over-under is set at 65.5, and I still think even that might be low.
Hey, give me the points. Drive it up. I think got to feel I'll throw down some money in the over in this ball game just because look, touchdowns and life's too short to bet the under. But the offensive superstars, they're going to feed up each other, and the pace is going to be dictated to score, 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 score. I don't see the only way that I can see hitting the under is if UNLV's only philosophy was to really milk the clock, grind it out, 3 yards, 4 yards of a cloud of dust, control the clock, control possession, and keep Genty on the sideline. I mean, keep him on the sideline, he can't hurt you. That's the only way I can see them slow him down. But if Boise State comes out and starts scoring early, it's going to, whichever team dictates that pace is going to drive the result.
All right, Fresh, let's roll over to our second game of the week. This game won our poll question out on the Twitter universe, on the X. I was disappointed that this one won the game, but we had to put it into the poll because it was one of the better games of the weekend. Missouri going down to Tuscaloosa. Missouri is 6-1 on the year, 2-1 the conference, but really we just kind of feel like they're, for the Tigers, they're a paper tiger. Take a look at Alabama Crimson Tide. Kalen DeBoer is finding out that life is not easy in Alabama. They hate the state of Tennessee, but luckily they're going home to Alabama. They're 5-2 on the year, 2-2 in conference right now. Over-under right now is set at 56.5. Alabama, a 14 points favorite in this football game. Fresh, this is like just the disappointing, like you'd think that it would be so much better. This reminds me of like the stratosphere / circus part of town. It's a cool novelty, but it leaves you wanting something more in regards to Vegas.
Well, first thing, I'll take it from Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. You see there's a meme out there with Baby Gamora and Thanos. It's like, did we beat Georgia? And Thanos is like, yes. It's like, at what cost? Losing to Vanderbilt and Tennessee.
Right.
The undisciplined nature from some of those players on the field. It's the vibe at Alabama right now is not, we knew it wasn't going to be the same, but it's changed so dramatically in 6 games. It's a shock. Even Alabama fans, I think they probably figured, all right, we went out there, we thumped them early, we thumped Georgia early in the first half. We were on top of the world. It was 30-7 at halftime. Ever since then, it's been a complete disarray. If it's not for Ryan Williams making an amazing catch and an amazing play athletically and going for 75 yards, they probably lose that ball game to the Dogs. And then we're at 3 losses now at that point? And Alabama hasn't lost 3 games in the regular season forever. So that one play makes them save their season. They kind of thought they were okay. You lose to Vanderbilt the week after. You kind of almost lose. Should have lost South Carolina. And then you come out there and there's a pretty ugly offensively effort from both teams. Both quarterbacks look terrible, but you lose on Rocky Top. This Missouri team has looked terrible all year, but you can't overlook anyone right now because you are struggling across the board defensively and offensively. There's no one stepping up on the defense making a play. They don't have the Will Andersons, the Dallas Turners, or any of the plethora of dominant players that were under the Saban era on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, it just seems like it's Jalen Miller run around, make a couple throws, Jam Miller or Justice Haynes maybe get a couple carries here, and then throw a ball to Ryan Williams when you're in despair. The offensive line's not playing like they should. You have a couple, preseason All-Americans who they look like the security guard meme where he lets everybody by and he's trying to walk through. There's no one's protecting anybody. It's not the Alabama that we were used to seeing in the past 15 years or so. And that kind of concerns me because does DeBoer lose the locker room? You guys be like, hey, you're not Nick Saban. You didn't recruit me. I'm tired of this nonsense. I'm going to make my own business decision. This is a culture thing, which you've got to set the standard and reorganize what's going on in that locker room for Alabama. And, if you don't, it could become a real painful moment down the stretch where things can get out of control. Missouri side, people had high expectations for Missouri. We both knew they were going to kind of be a fraud bill. And we're being proven right. We're not getting the season of Luther Burden. Theo Weiss is not dominating. That defense is nothing like it was last year under Coach Baker when he moved to LSU. You've definitely seen the change in defensive philosophies where last year they actually played heavily, pretty solid defense. He leaves LSU. LSU's improved defense. Your defense has gotten worse. And I think we all overlooked the fact that you lost two starting corners, a linebacker or two, a couple of defensive linemen starters, and a starting safety. Like that entire third defense is now gone from Missouri. You had to replace all that talent. This team right now has no identity. They're not a run first team. They're not a throw first team. They're not a defensive team. They're just getting by the chinny chin chins. We saw it versus Boston College. We saw it versus Vanderbilt. We saw it this past week versus Auburn. They have not looked dominant, and they played average at best football teams, or overachieving football teams, probably the best way to put it. And they've struggled. You go into Alabama against a bad Alabama team by our standards, you might get the brakes beat off and you might get blown out because number one, they probably have more talent just on the roster and they're pissed off because they just got beat by Tennessee and they have not won a game instead of Tennessee this year. This is a major gut check moment for Drink and that Missouri program. You had high expectations and you are far, far from meeting them, much less surpassing them. You've got to go into Tuscaloosa, batten down the hatches and play smart football. Brady Cook being dinged up and having to go to the hospital during that game and coming back, that's very heroic and all. But how's he going to be on Saturday? I think you're able to handle the load to be able to play the Tide. You got to tell them they're going to be angry, they're going to be feisty, they're going to come after us. So this game is about the wills of these two programs and who is truly really ready to fight. I think Alabama has more talent. I think Milroe can outrun the Missouri Tigers. It'll be an ugly game to watch. Alabama will win, and we'll start really questioning what's going on in Missouri. Alabama keeps themselves alive. Very, very faint hopes, but this game is more of an elimination for both schools.
Fresh Missouri is that guy who goes to the roulette table and puts money on 0 and 00 all the time. And no, stop. It's a terrible strategy right there on that one. I get if it's one of the numbers you play and you play like a section, but it's like if they put just, putting $10 onto a single number, hoping that one out of 36 there hits or 38. This Missouri team is absolutely ridiculous, man. It annoys me how the AP still has them ranked at 21. I get it. They're 6-1, 2-1 in the SEC. But again, you take a look at all their games. You take a look at the eye test there. They're not a good football team. Okay, yeah, people will take that and make a little sound clip of it, and they will say, well, would they beat like a Nevada or, they beat UMass. They'll beat all the teams in the MAC and all that stuff as well. But really, are they a quality SEC team? And the answer is no. The answer is no, because you think that they were this great team. They had a nice run last year. They beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Everyone's riding high, and they lose all the talent to the NFL draft. They lose coaching staff members. That's what happens when you have a good year as a program. Those things happen. That's the way of life in football. And everyone said, oh, you bring back Brady Cook, you bring him back Burden, you bring back all these guys. Yeah. We'll overrank them. The most overrated team in college football is the Missouri Tigers. Alabama, I think, is soul searching right now. I think that they are trying to figure out who they want to be. Kalen DeBoer he kind of didn't have the level of pressure over at Washington coming into this. And he was able to kind of make the team in his image and develop them and just have Michael Penix Jr. just ball out. Train the wide receivers, have them become first and second round draft picks there. And then you take a look at what they're doing. All these guys are going to be a Nick Saban guy for the time being. Now, what I would say to the Alabama fan base, and this is going to be very, very difficult for them to hear. Patience. I don't think Kalen DeBoer forgot how to coach football. I think Kalen DeBoer is a great football coach. If he was a terrible football coach or a terrible leader, Washington would not have made the national title game last year. They wouldn't have beat Oregon twice last year, a couple times in 2 years. He wouldn't have put all those players into the first round. if you're comparing him against Nick Saban, who has an argument to be the greatest college football coach of all time, yeah, DeBoer's never going to measure up to that. But also remember what Nick Saban's first season was like in Tuscaloosa. It was a disaster. And I want to say, was it following year they won national title?
2 years after that. 07, they lost to Monroe. They played in the Independence Bowl. 08, they played for an SEC title. 09, I believe they
won a national title.
Yeah.
It was within the first 3 years.
Yeah.
The same thing.
9, maybe 10. But it was early on.
With DeBoer. I think he needs time. I think he needs time to understand the huge scope of what he's dealing with. Alabama will be just fine. You will still be a great tier program. You're not going to go into the depths of Florida, but I'm going to preach patience to you guys. Milroe has looked really good at times, and then he's also looked like a young kid who is still trying to figure out this whole playing quarterback thing. I think he would actually – there's been some talk – he's draft eligible, if I remember right.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, he's junior this year. That's correct. I think Milroe should go back a year. I think he should come back one more year. I think he'd benefit from another year under Kalen DeBoer. Again, for me, it's going to come down to Alabama, controlled line of scrimmage. Are you able to run the football down this Missouri team's throat? I think you are. I think Alabama's going to crush them. I think Missouri is going to be squashed like a bug in this game. This game is going to be over by halftime. I hope it's over by halftime because I want Missouri I want AP voters to stop living in the past here and being a prisoner of the moment of saying, oh, Missouri's still good there. And I'm like, no, it's not true at all. Missouri is not a good football program. I get it. You're 6-1. You're looking at what the record is. Watch the football games there. Missouri, I'll eat my words. I'll eat my words. You beat Alabama. You beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I'll eat my words. I'll come on here. I'll say you're a great football program. I was dead wrong. But until you do something like that, I'm taking the Tide big in this football game.
It's funny you mentioned that patience. And you're right. When DeBoer got to Washington, that team was coming off of a 1-win season, and the coach got fired halfway through. It was a mess. So he had you couldn't get any worse. And he was able to get his guys in there and build it up and advance quietly under the guise of, hey, it's Pac-12, it's way out there in Seattle and fine like that. Here, the magnifying glass is much more present, and it shines brighter. So it's just, they're going to be magnifying and looking at every little thing he's doing. But yeah, being patient with the coach. People stressed it before the season started. I think that Georgia win, especially that first half, put them in a spot where, like, oh my God, maybe we're even better now. And then reality's kind of stepped in that there is some deficiencies in that roster from a talent perspective. They have to reload a little bit and get moving.
Right. Okay, Fresh. Our next game here, this is like a sleeper game because it's a game in the ACC. These two teams are a combined 12-2. Who had this on their bingo card? That the Duke Blue Devils would have fewer losses than Alabama. SMU is traveling to North Carolina to face the Blue Devils. SMU is 11.5-point road favorite. Over under in this game, I feel like this is a fool's errand. How in the world is the over under set at only 48.5? I would be hammering that over real quick, fast, in a hurry there. SMU has been, I've watched a good bit of SMU. I've been very impressed with them. Duke I started doing some prep work on that. Malik Murphy, we thought he would be really good making that transfer over to the Blue Devils from the Longhorns. It looks like he kind of made the right call. It's been pretty impressive for Duke. What you got for us on SMU versus the Duke Blue Devils?
Well, Manny Diaz, I think finally is in the program which allows him to be himself. You're not Miami where the pressure to win is extremely high and you're from Miami. Like that, I think it was just a major cloud that he wasn't ready for. But at Temple, you're not getting the players at Temple. He's not a program builder and he's not an elite level coach. But being at Duke, where you're going to have some resources more than Temple or those other kind of schools, but the expectations aren't the Miami level. So he's fitting in perfectly fine. I think he also grew up a little bit in the Miami experience and going up there and being the DC at Penn State. but he settled in. You get kids in the portal. You be able to build your own mentality. And Mike Elko didn't exactly leave that cupboard bare, where you have guys who can play defense, who were recruited at defensive line, an offensive line, linebacker, corner, like guys that you can work with. And he's a great coach. He's got them in spots to be successful. And that defense is playing at a high level. Throw in, if you have a quarterback, and we're seeing right now in college football, there are teams that have good quarterbacks that fit their system, and there are quarterbacks that are overwhelmed or just not talented at all. Malik Murphy, being that third quarterback in that Texas room, there's a reason why he had to get out. Because Arch and yours, even though this past weekend they didn't look that great, they were playing an elite defense. You had to leave if you want to play. So here's Murphy a chance to shine. So far in the year, 1,500 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 5 picks. His mobility from his legs, his vision, he's all around a solid quarterback. Still has room to develop and get even better, but he has the talent that can help this offense thrive at Duke. Getting receivers involved, getting the running backs involved. The offensive line is solid, but if they break down, he has the ability to escape and as the extra threat. If it's a quarterback, run immediately off the play call, he can make that happen. And that right there adds depth to that offense. Defensively, Manny Diaz knows what he's doing. He shut down many offenses in the past as defensive coordinator. As long as you get guys in space and be able to make plays, he's going to be okay. The other side, SMU. You've been raving about them for a long time, all year long. You've been one of the first on them, which I'm going to give you some serious credit for. They're a loaded offense. Coach Lashley has got those guys playing at a high level. We initially thought it would be Preston Stone at quarterback who's going to come in and just tear up the ACC. He had some struggles. Here comes Kevin Jennings at quarterback. 1,300 yards and change, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks. Really picked up that offense and taken it to a different level. That opener in the week 0 versus Nevada, they looked lost. And I think they maybe had too much pressure on them. Now they've been able to get themselves comfortable and play at a high level and really handle the schedule they were given and win football games they're supposed to win. Part of that success offensively, though, is running back Rashad Smith, 91 carries, 628 yards and 7 touchdowns, averaging 6.9, so basically 7 yards a carry. You have a balanced offense, run, pass, and spread format. It's really helping them maintain controlled possession of the football, put points up, being explosive at any way they want. This is going to be a great matchup of how that offense for SMU factors in against the defense for Duke. And I think that's where they probably looked at the over-under. They have more faith in Manny Diaz's defense and being at home to sort of slow down that SMU offense. They look great for Florida State, but who does it? That's where you can't really take that game with much credence from a Duke's perspective. I think SMU's offense has just enough explosives to really navigate and get through, and beat up on Duke on Saturday. It's going to be a fun game. I think SMU starts pulling away in the second half. The first half, Duke's with energy. That defense will give them some tricks, but eventually the SMU offense will pick it up and get moving. And the Mustangs will continue to their drive, to be that dark horse in the ACC.
Fresh, I don't hide that SMU is kind of like being a darling team for me. And again, I'll give a lot of props to Malik Murphy and what he's doing over there at Duke. I thought that was a great move on his part. Again, especially with kids, I think actually the kids should look at Malik Murphy first off and say, if you're going to hop in the portal, this is kind of how you should do it. If you are a third string quarterback at a premier program like you were at Texas, and you realize that your path to playing is pretty much blocked for your entire career, and you don't have to go to another. He didn't go over to A&M. He didn't go to Notre Dame. He didn't go anywhere else. He went to Duke. And a lot of people would probably be like, why in the world would you go to a place like Duke? Because he saw that it would be an opportunity to show off what he was able to do. The skill set Malik Murphy has is pretty remarkable. And I think that if Duke started kind of to fall a little bit where they would go back to where they don't have the best offensive line play, quarterbacks would be running for his life. Murphy's pretty talented when it comes to that regard. Will I think he'd be a big-time NFL draft pick? Probably not. Is this going to be a guy that we think was a pretty good college quarterback? Yeah, absolutely. With SMU, though, you're right. It's been them running the football. Yeah, everyone's going to take a look at what Jennings is doing as well, but Jennings is part of that ground game. He is that dual-threat quarterback. He isn't taking a lot of sacks, being that with with how he's able to escape the pocket there. He's completing 66% of his passes as well. The thing that really kind of confused me a little bit, yeah, Duke has got the best scoring defense in the ACC, but the problem is that they are struggling to stop the run in the ACC. Like, yeah, they're not holding their scoring defense, but they've had over 1,000 yards run on them already 6 games or 7 games into the season. That's where the difference is for me. That's where I think SMU is going to have a field day because Duke does struggle to stop the run this season. I think that maybe you might just take that bend, don't break mentality. But I got SMU with a big win here. I think they're going to 7-1, and they're on their way to creating some havoc in the ACC.
Well, you bring up a good point about Duke and having the talent. Let's not forget, folks, they had a battle last year with Notre Dame. They took Florida State to the limit. Through 3 quarters, they were leading Florida State last year with Jordan Travis until Riley Leonard got hurt and they lost the game. So there's a core of talent on this football team. So we shouldn't be too surprised at Duke. But do they have enough to compete with SMU and get the W? I don't think so. I think the Mustangs get it done.
Yeah, Duke's strengthened their defense as their pass defense. I think that SMU is going to find some room to work with their run game. All right, Fresh, let's go all the way out west. We're going to Eugene, Oregon. This is a 3:30 kick. The Illinois Fighting Illini, they're 6-1, 3-1 in the Big Ten. They're traveling to Eugene to face the Oregon Ducks, 7-0, 4-0 in the conference, number 1 team in the nation right now. Oregon is a 22-point favorite at time of record. Over-under is set at 54.5. Now, I don't think Illinois is going to be able to keep up with them scoring-wise, but I do think Illinois' defense could give Oregon a few more problems than people think.
It's going to be a change here where the Illinois Fighting Illini, or the Illini, whatever they're getting called now, this is maybe the second biggest game in the past 5 years. Was it 2022 when they went up to Ann Arbor? Chase Brown, Sidney Brown, that fantastic defense. They punched Michigan in the mouth, and the way it came down, they actually had a chance to really win the ball game late and really announce themselves. Maybe calls went the opposite direction, some shady stuff. Michigan got to benefit, whatever. But they showed up when nobody thought they would. Everyone thought Michigan and J.J. McCarthy and that entire team, Corum, all those guys, would just beat the trash out of them. And they made plays. They played solid defense. And they showed that they have an elite program. We thought that maybe they would have sort of died off a little bit or slowed back, and that was just a blip on the radar. But Coach Bielema has found investments into the program, and he has gotten those guys playing at a high level, and they're developing talent. They're recruiting at a solid level for Illinois and getting players in there who want to be part of it and want to be 3 to 4 year guys. Luke Altmaier obviously being a transfer and Zakir Franklin being a transfer, you can plug in 1 or 2 here and there. But for the most part, it is a recruit develop philosophy, which is what every school should truly be. They built in his image of they're going to run the football and be smart with the passing game. They're not going to come out and try to spread the ball out because they just don't have that kind of talent, but they have weapons offensively to get things done. In this game, though, they're going to have to be able to score at pace because Oregon can score. You're going to have to either ball control the whole heck out of it and get, 13 to 15 play drives, 7, 8, 9 minutes off the clock every single time and really eat away at it and end them with touchdowns. Or your offense, specifically Luke Altmaier, quarterback, are going to have to be able to throw the football a little bit on this Oregon defense to keep pace because the things could get out of control. The one thing that Michigan was not, they were not a high-powered offense from a passing perspective, so they kind of mirrored up with what Illinois was in my reference from before. This is a different philosophy. This is a high-powered offense that they're going to have to be able to slow the pace down or play elite defense in the secondary. It's also a referendum on Illinois' football program. If you can go into Oregon and stand up right now, all right, you're a legit top 25 team. Because I think people still have a question to are they actually legit 25? They beat an average at best Nebraska team. We saw they're getting, exposed with Indiana this past weekend. They beat a terrible Michigan football team who's only ranked because of name and logo only. What kind of Illinois football team are we seeing at a high national standard? So this is a real true chance to see where they stand from that perspective. I think Altmaier has shown he's not the quarterback he was at Ole Miss. Throwing for 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Even better than when he was last year here at Illinois, where he kind of struggled. So he's shown he can actually be managing the offense and make the right decisions. The top receiving threat, Pat Bryant, Jacksonville kid. We're based out of Jacksonville. We've told you multiple times. 31 receptions, 484 yards receiving, and 7 touchdowns. He is going to be the number one go-to guy. Zakai Franklin is another solid receiver. Came up from was that actually at Ole Miss last year. Another playmakers on the edge that help expand this offense for Illinois. The offensive line is going to have to really maintain discipline and attack because that Oregon front is pretty strong. The other side, we know what Oregon is, everyone. We've seen them play. They are Dylan Gabriel. They have Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart, Jordan James. This team is solid from top to bottom. They're number one in the country for a reason. They beat a very, very good football team up there in Ohio State by 1 or 2 points. You have to be almost a near perfect football team to be able to take them down. So this is going to be a big test for Illinois, but also Oregon. Is this where we get the sleepy look ahead? You went to Purdue, you took care of business, you beat the trash out of Purdue, but Purdue, they're not a very good football team. Is Illinois being ranked catching your attention, or are you going to overlook them thinking, well, we don't have to worry about them. Let's keep our sights set on later down because we're basically in the Big Ten title game. We're basically looking to lock up a top 4 seed in the playoff. How seriously does Coach Dan Lanning and this Oregon Duck team take the Illinois Illini in this ballgame? I'm going to say Oregon shows up. And I think we saw them change their philosophy and they were able to play a full 60 versus Ohio State. They look different than they did the previous years when they lost to Washington. I think they come in there, they take this thing seriously. Illinois gives them a fight for a half, and then the talent and the depth take over, and Oregon pulls away in the second half. But Coach Bielema and that Illini entire football team, that Illini staff, they will have nothing to be ashamed about. They're going to show up, but the talent and depth is going to be what's going to be the major key in the second half. Oregon will pull away late, but Illinois will show they're a worthy ranked team, and this will be a fun football game.
All right. I think whether or not Oregon's going to cover this game is going to be based on what their defense does. Is their defense able to completely stifle everything Illinois is going to do? So far this season, we really haven't seen that happen. Yes, okay, you pitch a shutout against Purdue, but Purdue might be, I would say, bottom 5 worst team in college football right in that area. But UCLA is also a terrible team, and UCLA put up 13 on you. Boise State, I kind of the 2 games I was looking at when I was previewing this game and working on it going, what do I need to know about Oregon and what do I need to know about them in order for Illinois to have a chance? Like, let me try to talk myself into Illinois making this game competitive. And I looked at Boise State being able to run the football, being able to score with them. They've made some adjustments on defense. That game was early on in the season, week 2. I know that it's a different team now. But then I looked at a few weeks ago when Michigan State went to Eugene. Now, Oregon wins 31-10. But Michigan State stuck with them. They're down 21-0 at half. But late in the game, Michigan State was able to put some points on the board. I think Michigan State's got a little bit better defense than people give credit for. And I think Illinois has a little bit better defense than Michigan State does. I think that Oregon's going to win this game. It's going to be like a 2-touchdown, 17-point win in this one. Illinois is going to play ball control. Luke Altmaier has seen a lot. I think he's going to be able to handle some of the changes that Dan Lanning's going to throw at him. I'm not going to say that Illinois is going to win this game. I think I'd probably, if I'm getting 22, that's over 3 touchdowns. I'll take Illinois in the 22. I think 21, that's right at the mark where I'd be like, not so much. But I like Illinois to kind of keep this close and people to go, okay, Illinois is a really good football team. I think they're respectable. They're a name that when we're looking at resumes, you're like, oh, you beat Illinois or, you lost to Illinois or what have you. They're a really good football team there. They're going to walk out of Eugene with their head held high. I know we hate saying the good loss type of thing, but this is one of those things where you say, hey, we were competitive with Oregon for a game. it might help us on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, I mean, if Illinois is going to be in this ballgame, if they're going to have a chance to pull up an upset or keep it close, running back Caden Fagan's going to have a ball game. He's the leading rusher for the Illini, 67 carries, only 306 yards and 3 touchdowns. That doesn't really, for having a beefy offensive line and a run-first mentality, you kind of want something more. So he's going to have to get himself going, and they're going to have to be able to block. If he's having a successful day, Illinois is probably in a good shape.
Right. And I think what the other thing with Illinois, they got to be looking to be able to recruit stronger in the metropolitan Chicago area. It's a nice bed for football talent. There's a lot of really good football players that come out of the Chicago area. Oregon's going to recruit nationally. Illinois is going to still be a regional recruiter. But if they could really start to lock down the Chicago area, it could be big for them. This could be a game that goes a long way for that.
Yeah, this is another one of those program, like I said, program referendums. Like, where are you at? Where are you truly at in the landscape?
All right, Fresh. We're off to Annapolis. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they're 6-1 on the season. They are going to face the Navy midshipmen. Anchors away, my friend. Anchors away. They are 6-0. Navy is undefeated. They're ranked in the AP top 25 right now. A lot of respect on Navy. At time of record, Notre Dame is only a 13.5-point favorite in this game. Over-under is set at 52.5 points in this one. Navy has thrown the football a little bit, not a whole lot more, but a little bit more than they have in years past. Notre Dame, we talked in our recap episode just on week number 8. This could be one of the last 2 games that the Irish have on their schedule that is a way to show the committee who they truly are. What do you got for Notre Dame Navy?
Well, let's just soak it in, folks. Let's enjoy that Navy and Army both ranked in the top 25 officially, along with Vanderbilt. Right. It's a true testament to the program, the hard work. The guys out there are giving everything, and they are disciplined. They are talented. Where they're not just a bunch of, future naval officers or Army officers who are just running around playing, tag. They're legit football players, and they're showing it every single day at practice and every game. They're playing with the elite teams. This is a chance for Navy, who almost beat Notre Dame last year or the year before, Baltimore. It was one of the 2 years where they almost pulled up the upset. That they are right there and ready to go, and they have the talent, and they have the scheme, they have the will to win. Blake Horvath, the quarterback for Navy. We talk about Bryson Daly for Army. He's just as good here. Horvath, 880 yards passing, 10 touchdowns and 1 pick, and he has 621 yards rushing and 10 rushing touchdowns. He's the leading rusher as well. He's literally a one-man army for the Naval Academy. If the defense can give him anything, if they can tackle and play discipline, and he can get through and be able to maneuver with the blocking the offensive line, Navy has a chance. The Notre Dame offense hasn't exactly been a world beater putting up 50 a game. Let's all remember they lost to Northern Illinois. If Navy wants to win this ball game, ball control, touchdowns, tackle in space, and forced turnovers. That's how you get the upset. You run the ball, control the clock, force turnovers, score touchdowns, you're going to be in great shape. The pressure is all on Notre Dame. They are the name. They are the highly ranked. They are on the bubble right now for a playoff spot. The pressure is on them. You guys are a great story. If you lose, no one's going to like, oh my God, can't believe Navy lost to Notre Dame. You just go out there, play loose, play fast, play physical, and you should be okay. Be disciplined. Make Notre Dame choke. Put them in a spot where they have to overthink. If they're overthinking, they might choke. You're going to be in a great spot. From the other perspective, Notre Dame, when you started that game off versus Georgia Tech, it was sloppy. It started slow. It was 7-7. Georgia Tech was hanging around. It took you a while to get yourself going. And it kind of was like, are we going through a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde Notre Dame team where we always see it where one game they look great, next game they look like trash. One game they look great, next game they look like they've played down the competition. Or is that just the standard of Notre Dame football right now where you're just an ebb and flow, and you never no idea what team is going to show up? You've got to come out here and you've got to attack them early. It is a ranked opponent. It's going to be seen by people. You cannot say, oh, yeah, they're the Naval Academy. Let's take it easy on them. You need to come out, hit them in the mouth, be who you are, physically, offensively, defensively, dominate the game. Riley Leonard, I want to see you attack that secondary. If Notre Dame, if you want to have playoff aspirations of a deep run, you're going to have to develop a passing game. You've got, Bo Collins and you have got to get on the same page and start moving that ball down vertically. It can't just be you and your legs. It can't just be loving the running game. You've got to be able to throw the football. This is a great chance against a very talented defense to throw the football. They're going to give you some unique looks from I believe they're running a 3-3-5. So you have a lot of guys in space. How do you attack this in secondary? How do you push the ball down there and take them seriously? If you overlook Navy, you will be in serious trouble. In the end, I think Coach Freeman has got this team focused a little bit better. They're still not where I want to see them from elite, like taking advantage of subpar teams. But here, Freeman will have them ready to go, have them focused. They will come out. Navy will compete with them. I'm going to say Navy competes with them through 3 quarters, and Notre Dame in the 4th quarter eventually wears them down with the running game. But it'll be a lot closer than I think people expect. But in the end, Notre Dame wins.
Yeah, Fresh. It's going to come down to how they contain Blake Horvath. The pride of Hilliard, Ohio right now. This kid has been a pure dual threat quarterback for the midshipmen. As much as the dual threat quarterback as they have, they're still going to run the triple option. They're still going to run the ball way more than they're going to throw the ball. But it's been nice to see that Navy has kind of started to change their approach a little bit, or I shouldn't say change their approach, maybe add a different wrinkle into where they are. So you can't just key off on him. That was the thing that stuck out to me in this game. Is in years past, if you were a team that didn't face the triple option very often, it was a very difficult team to face. Like the service academies would give you all you could handle because the triple option offense is just it puts so much stress on your defense that it's very difficult to prepare for unless you're having Navy off a bye week or you're having Army to start the season. Like if you only have 5 or 6 days to prepare for this, it's a very difficult offense to prepare for. I think Navy and Army both kind of saw that a little bit. Like teams were starting to learn how to prepare a little bit better. So they say, okay, you figure out what our strategy is, and where else would you get this than a military academy? You're figuring out our strategy. We're going to throw something out. We're not going to change who we are, but we're going to throw out enough of a little bit of a wrinkle to keep you on your toes a little bit more. I think that it's going to come down to, is Notre Dame able to get after Horvath? Is he able to stop them as well? Is he able to get the offense rolling against Notre Dame? I think Marcus Freeman is going to kind of know how to play this one. I think he's going to get after him as well. But again, I need to see something more out of Notre Dame. I need to see Notre Dame jump out to a quick lead. I'm talking 14-0, 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. I don't know if that's possible, but that's why I need to see. I also really want to see Riley Leonard throw the ball better. 6 touchdowns on the year.
A lot of NIL money for only 6 touchdowns. A lot of NIL money for only 6 touchdowns.
And I get it. They're using the run game way more with it. You take a look, they've attempted only 197 passes right now, and they've run the ball 251 times. And I know Riley Leonard is a dual threat quarterback. I know that he is second on the team in carries. I just want to see that passing attack from Notre Dame a little bit better. It just isn't there for me just yet. Notre Dame is one of my bubble teams. I think Notre Dame wins this football game. Shocking, Vegas only has this at 13.5. I'm going to say Notre Dame eventually does cover that 13.5, but Navy, you have a lot to be proud of, man. You guys have done a remarkable job. Anchors away, my friends. Anchors away, man.
Yeah, go get it done. Show the country that you are truly legit. If you pull off this upset,
I'm not mad about it.
If Navy pulls off this upset, Notre Dame, your playoff hopes are completely gone. But that puts a conversation. Does Navy now vault past Boise State, even if Boise State beats UNLV? Like that would be a great conversation to have if that does occur on Saturday.
Right. And I will say this: there's not many things that would unite most Americans, but I think most Americans would unite around Navy beating Notre Dame.
Oh, it would feed families for generations.
Let me ask you this question real quick, Fresh. Everyone knows, as we've talked before, your brother is in the Army there as an Army officer. If it means beating Notre Dame, would your brother cheer for Navy?
No.
If it means beating Notre Dame?
No.
Okay.
Both sides would never cheer for the other. It's go Army, beat Navy 24/7.
I'm always curious about that. Like, at what level is it that other teams you do start to root for them? All right, Fresh, let's go to a game that we thought was going to be but now it's pulled itself off the mat. This is an exciting one. Number 3 right now, Penn State Nittany Lions. They're 6-0 on the year, 3-0 in the Big Ten. They're going to Camp Randall Stadium. And Fresh, get this. Someone actually scheduled a game correctly at Camp Randall. This is a 7:30 kick, playing a game at night in Camp Randall Stadium. What a novel idea.
Yeah, well, the Badgers, network's in charge, unfortunately, and they finally got one right.
The Badgers, we thought that they were just donezo on the season after that drubbing that they got from Alabama. Wisconsin looked mediocre at best. And then all of a sudden, Tyler Van Dyke goes down for the year. Locke steps in. Has he been phenomenal? No, but has he been – it's not the quarterback that you wanted. It's the quarterback you needed. Wisconsin 5-2 on the year, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Right now, Penn State is a 6.5-point favorite in this game. Over-under is set at 47.5. Fresh, I'm downright excited for this game. This is like the level of excitement of having the Verbena cocktail at the Chandelier Bar. You never know what's going to happen when you're sitting there, folks. And if you don't know what the Verbena cocktail is at the Chandelier Bar in Las Vegas, Google it, check it out. It's a cool experience. I'm excited for this game.
This is the kind of game that Luke Fickell came to Madison for. Right. The Alabama game was, we already kind of knew they were probably outmatched talent-wise, top to bottom. But this is that, it's a Big Ten game, it's a conference game, it's a night game. You have a chance to derail Penn State's season right now. Because right now they're kind of thinking, we're cruising right into the playoffs, we'll be okay. Your team has played inspired for the past 3 weeks. If you go out there and beat Penn State, I'm not going to say you ruin their season, but you potentially ruin their seeding. You give them a conference loss. People start having questions about, is Penn State truly good? Have they played anybody? Are they truly worthy? We've always had the conversation where Penn State, they're always the but team lately. They have talent, but are they actually truly good? Do they play anybody and they get a bunch of wins? But there's the above average football team. That's when you put that doubt in someone's mind if Wisconsin can show up here and give them a ball game or even pull off the upset. That crowd, I don't want to see the students show up to Camp Randall in the student section late. Get there early, sit in your stupid seat, and be ready to yell for a full 60 minutes. You only get these opportunities once. And first of all, you're in college. These are the kind of events you want to have. You want to be at the ball game, tailgating, eggs and kegs from the very beginning all the way to the 6 o'clock kickoff Central Time. Be rowdy, be in the stands, enjoy the experience, be a difference maker. You watch college games all across the country, whether it's football or even college basketball. The student sections are the most feared places, and they bring that intimidation factor and that atmosphere that is required. That sometimes actually dictates the outcome of the game. You need to be that dictating element. You need to come out there and get after it. Because right now, talent-wise, I think Wisconsin's still trying to get up to that level of Penn State on paper. But if you can make differences with the noise, with the intensity, and driving that Penn State team start thinking or can't hear the signals, you are now impacting the ballgame trying to even that playing field. That's what we always talk about, that 3 points going back and forth for the home field advantage. That's what it comes into. Be the difference maker. Because Tony Walker at running back, if that crowd noise is dictating, the defense isn't communicating, he's getting a little quicker of a head start in the running game, the offensive line's getting off the ball quicker, you are now helping. If that defense in that environment is raucous and fired up, and that defense is getting an extra start and the offense cannot communicate, you are making a difference in the football game. You've got to show up and be ready. Luke Fickell, you've coached in big games. Prior to this, you know what it takes. You need to take advantage of this. But when you were at Cincinnati, those were really being done when you were the road team, when you went to Notre Dame, or you were in the neutral site in the playoff versus Alabama. Now you have a home field setting. How do you get your boys fired up, prepared the whole entire week leading up to this to be able to tackle on this vaunted Penn State running game, and on offense, catch the football and score? If you got to be a little more old school Wisconsin, not so spread, do it. I don't care how you get it done. You just need to win the football game. Braidlock, you've been a solid, steady balance at quarterback. Do not let the moment get big to you. Play within your own system. Make your smart throws. If it's not there, get rid of it. You're playing a very, very, very good defense led by Abdul Carter there on the Penn State side. Do not let them suffocate you. If it's not there, get rid of the ball. You don't have to be a hero. Hero football does not win you ball games. Hero football usually results in you losing. Look at so we've seen quarterbacks in the past try to do too much. They throw interceptions when they shouldn't have. Should get rid of the ball. Be smart with it. Luke Fickell, tell Phil Longo to run the football. Get back to old school Badger ball if you have to. Just put it down there, run the ball down their throat, control the clock, keep Penn State on the sideline. On the other side, James Franklin, is Penn State real? Is Penn State for real? This is another game for you to prove everyone wrong and say, yeah, we're for real. That ugly start versus USC and then the major comeback was phenomenal. But Tyler Warren, he's not going to get 18 catches on Saturday night. You're going to have to be able to run the football and have a little more of a balanced offense. Where does it all come from? That defense should be better this time, but you offensively have got to get it done. I'm a little more impressed after that comeback win versus USC than I was before that. I still don't trust Drew Allar, but I think Penn State has enough talent. This is going to be a brawl. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair, a four-quarter battle, and Penn State will make a play late and win the game like 24-20. But it will be on edge and going back and forth throughout the entire ball game. It'll probably be a last-second drive from Penn State to finally get the game winner. But it'll be a one to tune into and watch.
Fresh, people don't realize, and again, if you are south of the Mason-Dixon line, I don't think you truly understand how difficult it is to go into Camp Randall and play there at night. I really don't think people understand. You do, Fresh.
I think people understand. I think people understand, Seth.
You do.
I don't. The Mason-Dixon line is not really going to. I think people understand that it's a raucous environment, but there are places across the country that are just as hostile.
But I understand that.
Night games are different.
Right. And again, that's what I'm saying. At night, going into Camp Randall is a very extremely difficult place to play. There's something different about that place at night. It's the same thing with LSU. There's something different about playing at LSU at night. There's a difference with this team. This game could go any way for Wisconsin. Wisconsin is, again, you take a look at who they play. Yeah, Northwestern, Rutgers, Maryland, last three games that they've won them handily and looked really good in those football games. But then you take a look at Penn State coming into town. If they win this game, great. Hey, you pulled off a massive upset. As long as this game's competitive, Penn State's the number 3 team in the country, according to the AP. It's a game we're supposed to lose. If we lost it, okay, we're not quite there yet, but we're a team that's growing. This game is a true referendum on Penn State right now. This is a true referendum on whether or not Penn State is a legitimate top 5 football team right here and now. If you can go into a place like Camp Randall, go in there at night and have a game where you kind of show out of what you're able to do. Not a come from behind win against a subpar USC team. Not a game where, you're down big at halftime like against BGSU. If I was a Penn State fan, I would be getting so tired of this. I mean, and I think about these things sometimes, Rich, because when I was prepping for this game, I kind of put myself in the mindset of being a Penn State fan and going, when is it going to be that people put some respect on their name? Because like you brought up, Penn State has always been our perpetual yeah, but team. when is that moment going to happen that says, because no one ever said, yeah, but when Joe Pa was there, Bill O'Brien did a great job of keeping that program afloat when he was there. And now James Franklin has turned them into the yeah, but program. I legitimately think, and I know those questions will never truly end until you beat Ohio State. I mean, you'll beat Michigan if you played them, but I don't think they play them this year. I don't think they'll truly end until those moments happen. But this is one of those types of game that could go a long way. This could be a game where you say, if we go into Camp Randall, we go in and Nicholas Singleton runs for 150 in it, or Katron Allen and Singleton go off for 205 together on there. Allard has an efficient day, completes 75% of his passes. This is one of those games that we can't have a James Franklin boneheaded mistake. Bonehead clock management, boneheaded call, what have you with him. If you do those things, then I think the rest of the country will be able to look back and say, okay, Penn State, Oregon, you two are really that elite level of the Big Ten right now. Ohio State, you're going to get a shot at Penn State. You lost your first shot against Oregon. They're a step above you right now. Talent-wise, I don't necessarily agree, but again, can't take away results on the field. They beat you. They get to be called above you until you get another chance at them. I think this is that moment for Penn State. If they don't, then it's just another year of yeah, but it's another year of everyone thinking Penn State was a really good football team. They'll beat the lower level teams, that they'll go 10-2 every single year, and they'll never really make it further than an appearance in the college football playoff or a New Year's Six bowl game. And I think I would be truly frustrated if I was a Penn State fan. I got Penn State winning this football game. I think it's close for a half. Penn State pulls away in the second half.
Well, it's funny you talk about, we both mentioned the standard and the perception. 2 years ago, the only reason Penn State got to go to the Rose Bowl is because the two teams that were better than them in the league were in the college football playoff. Like, you were gifted a Rose Bowl appearance because Michigan and Ohio State were both in the playoff. You didn't do it on your own merit. You were the third in the East. So this is a chance for you to change that and get yourself to a point where Penn State is now Penn State. It is what it was in the 80s and 70s. It was a legit powerhouse. Linebacker, running backs all over the place. Like, just, I don't fear Penn State. I'm like, man, I don't know how we're going to score. And I'm like, as a fan, you're kind of like, all right, they're cute. That intensity, that fear is not there when it was before in Joe Pa, when that team was dominant and they were going to be physical and hit you in the mouth at all times, no matter what.
Right. Absolutely. We'll see. This is going to be, like I said, a referendum on Penn State. And really, do we take them serious going into that Ohio State game? I believe that's 2 weeks away from here.
Yep, correct.
Maybe it is next week. Maybe
week. I think it's
week 10.
The week of November 2nd.
Week 10.
Yeah.
And again, I also would ask the question, Penn State can't look ahead to that. All right, Fresh, let's go to our game of the week. It is in Kyle Field. Texas A&M Aggies, their only loss on the year is week 1 to Notre Dame. Shocking. I thought A&M was not going to be this team here. LSU, they're 6-1 as well. Their only loss of the year was week 1 to a subpar USC team. Fresh, it's a 2.5-point Texas A&M favorite right now. Over under set 53.5. 2.5 points to me, that's home field advantage. So it's telling me that these teams are dead even right now. Fresh, what you got for this one?
Well, first off, we've seen Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, Alabama. We've heard all the stories and watched them all. But quietly, A&M and LSU are both undefeated in the SEC. And if the season ended right now, they'd be playing for the SEC title. They're doing their own thing. They're winning football games. Maybe not 100% sexy, but they are getting it done, and they're just taking care of the schedule. We got the opener, LSU, USC. we expected LSU to come out and just dominate USC, and that was far from the case. Since then, they kind of have grown up and gone through their own struggles. They should have lost to South Carolina. They showed a lot of fortitude to withstand that road pressure, come back and find a way to win the ball game. And they just stacked and matured since then. The win over Ole Miss was very impressive, and then responding by dominating Arkansas the week after, without looking ahead of this game, showed a different maturity level from the entire team, which you might not have seen in the past. So that intrigues me from LSU's perspective. You're seeing other guys outside of Harold Perkins, because he's injured, stepping up and making plays on defense. Weston Weeks at linebacker, the guy's a machine, running around and making tackles for loss and passes defense all over the place. Kind of a glue guy for that an entire, starting 11 for the Tigers. And he's got them focused and energized. And it's not just one guy. I think it's also, we talk about an offense where if you only have one guy, everyone focuses on him and try to force the ball to him. Well, on defense, I think everybody kind of looked at Harold Perkins like, well, we expect you to come save us. Now, when he's gone, it's everybody else is around the program and trying to be involved. And you're not having to key on one guy, you're keying on multiple players. This is a big deal. And it's just a growth of a program, a growth of a team. Coach Baker, we mentioned in the Missouri situation, showing up here and getting it done it's a new sign of life for LSU. The other side, A&M, when Jimbo was fired, the exodus of players that left through the portal, we thought it's going to take a while for them to get back to being this. It's probably going to take a year or two for Elko to get his guys in, for them to mature, for them to be solid, and then from there they'll go. First year one of Mike Elko, who, first of all, he's a fantastic and amazing football coach. There's nothing, that was already a true statement when he's at Duke. But the way he's gotten this entire team to batten down the hatches, go through a quarterback situation with Wegman being hurt and putting in Marcel Reese, dominating the Florida Gators, coming in, getting wins. These are two interesting programs that have shown growth as the season's gone on. We've had questions about the roster. We've had questions about the depth, but they've taken advantage of their opportunities. A&M last week at Starkville, going to Mississippi State. The previous 2 weeks, Mississippi State had played Texas and Georgia and actually kind of played them relatively within reason. A&M didn't come out there and dominate like I thought they did. They were 20 and a half point favorites at close, and they didn't cover. The defense didn't look fully locked in and focused. The offense wasn't scoring enough, and Mississippi State kind of hung around. And it has me worried about this week. You're at home, it's great, but LSU's offense is a lot better than Mississippi State's, and LSU's defense is better. Where was the mindset of that A&M football team? Have they just kind of peaked and they kind of got tired and playing on adrenaline, or was it just it is what they are, and they're just going to get every game's going to be different for them because they dominated Missouri. They beat the trash out of them 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and then they kind of had a lull moment. So where's this Aggie offense coming from? Where's the Aggie defense coming from? Le'Veon Moss at running back is a tremendous player. I think he is the main focus for that offense. Run the football, be behind your offensive line, and let Wegman make some plays in the passing game. They're going to have to score some points, though, because LSU is going to put points on the board. So how does this team manage stride for stride and touchdown for touchdown with the Tigers? Caden Durham for LSU. I mean, they were looking for a running back all year long. That freshman stepped in and showed speed, showed balance, showed some ferocity. Ferocious running back. I like what he brings to that Tiger offense. You're seeing it's not just Kyron Lacey at receiver. It's not just C.J. Daniels. Armstrong's been a nice little solid slot receiver. Had a bunch of clutch receptions for him so far this year. That offense has grown. Mason Taylor at tight end. And, of course, that amazing offensive line highlighted by Will Campbell. The talent was there for the Tigers. But we're always at that one point where it's that but for LSU, very similar to Penn State, where they have so much talent, but you never know what you're going to get sometimes. You're just like, all right, are they just going to choke one away and have that loss that inexplicable? Nussmeyer's a veteran quarterback. I like what he's been able to do this year growing up. This one's going to be a low scoring affair. I don't see this being a track meet. I think at the very end, it's going to be like a 20-17, 20-13, 17-13 game where defense is going to rule the day because the offenses maybe are going to be too scared to make a mistake and they don't want to cost the game. When it comes down to that, I think LSU has a better quarterback in Nussmeier. I think he guides them to this victory and has some key third down throws late in the ballgame. The Tigers survive Aggieland in a 20-13, 17-13 kind of ballgame. LSU will remain undefeated in the SEC and keep their sights, like you pointed out in a preseason, preview, toward an SEC title game and potential playoff spot by escaping Aggieland to W.
Fresh. This game is just such a unique combination of what makes college football great. First and foremost, in a great environment in Kyle Field. A&M is not a team that is built to beat the brakes off of LSU. A&M runs the football very, very well. Mike Elko plays this great ball control type of offense. He's got a lot of faith in Connor Wegman. The fact that you could have very easily made the switch to Reed and you didn't. You stuck behind the guy, and I think that goes a long way about the character of a coach. LSU's defense is a middle of the road in the SEC for a run defense as well. The area where they really are lacking, surprisingly, is that they are a bottom tier pass defense. They are in the lower third of the SEC in their pass defense there. You take a look at A&M though. A&M is only behind Tennessee in the conference in their rushing attack. So is A&M going to be able, is Mike Elko being able to step out of what they've done all year long to, pick themselves off the mat after that week 1 loss and keep themselves undefeated in the conference? Are they able to do what they've done? Or are they going to adjust to say, like, this is where we see a weakness in LSU's defense? That's really the question. I don't know what A&M's going to do. I really don't. I think if they try to stay and run the football as much as they have been doing, I do feel like that plays a little bit into LSU's hand. And again, if LSU is able to kind of do that quick hurry-up offense and put some points up on them pretty quickly, you brought Durham there and Gus Niedermeyer / Nussmeier, because I can't not call that kid Garrett Niedermeyer for some reason from Animal House. If LSU's offense goes really fast on them, I think that A&M is going to be out of their comfort zone. I really, really do. You take a look at what Nussmeier's been able to do. He is tied right now for the 7th best quarterbacking in all of college football. He's got 18 touchdown passes on the year. He's only thrown 2 interceptions as well. Doesn't turn the ball, or 6 interceptions, only taking 2 sacks. I'm sorry. Doesn't turn the ball over a ton. He makes the throws he needs to make. He's completing about 65% of his passes there. He keeps the offense chugging along. He's not as electric as Daniels was last year, but he doesn't need to be. You talk about Durham really picking it up. It's exactly what this LSU team needs. This game becomes which team is able to do what they want in the game. Like, when does this game take the identity of either A&M and their ball control running the football, or LSU, like, we're going to speed up the tempo a little bit? What kind of game do we see? Because if we see a tempo type of game where you're getting short, quick drives by LSU, I think this game could have the potential to get ugly on them, because I think a little bit higher of LSU's offense than I do. But I also know Mike Elko is a hell of a defensive coach too. I think he's a hell of a defensive coach. People will give him a lot of credit for what he does on the offensive side of the football, but I think he's a great defensive coach as well. Is he able to kind of negate what Brian Kelly has built there in LSU? I think this game stays close. 4th quarter, though, LSU wins. LSU wins by for me, I'm looking at like a 24-17, 24-21 type of game.
It's going to be another fun battle. I mean, these two teams have always given us chaos. They were the ones that had that 7, overtime game way, 3 years ago. Expect crazies to happen. These two fan bases hate each other. Absolute hate each other. A&M, if they win this ball game, they're smooth sailing all the way to taking on Texas the next given weekend, and that could be for eliminating Texas potentially from a playoff spot and putting them in the SEC title game. So this is a big moment for A&M and for Mike Elko and the AE program.
All right, Fresh. Before we head out of here, let's go to our brown water bets for the week. Fresh, I was struggling mightily the last 2 weeks. I have not done well. Eesh. I'll let you go first. What game are you picking for?
We are going to go to the site of game day. Game day is heading to Bloomington, Indiana for the Hoosiers hosting the Huskies. I'm taking the Hoosiers to cover the 6.5. Let's go Indiana. Keep pumping away. I'm really excited game days there too.
Does Rourke not playing in this game concern you at all?
I have a feeling the vibe being a touchdown, if it was a higher spread, Rourke not playing would have concerns, but I think Jackson at quarterback, with the way the team is, the momentum they have, that defense, I think that they'll be able to cover the 7.
Yeah.
6.5 touchdown.
I'll go with you. I'm going Indiana as well, 6.5. I think that run game has been really, really electric for IU as well. I know everyone's going to focus on Rourke, but I think the run game has been great too. So give me Indiana 6.5. All right, Fresh. The game I'm choosing, it's big brother versus slightly older brother here in this one. It's not big brother, little brother anymore. I'm going Michigan State, Michigan. Right now, Michigan is a 5-point favorite in this game. Over-under is at 40.5. I am actually going to take the over in this football game.
Well, you can take the over, but everything I've seen right now after this point, eye test wise, Will Johnson probably not playing. Give me Sparty straight up money line to win, plus 175. Give me Michigan State plus the upset.
That's a big one right there. All right, our producer, Drew, we try to normally do these things. We try to stay away from games we previewed, but I think this is way too tempting of a football game to stay away from it. Boise State, UNLV, Fresh.
Broncos
what are you going with?
2.5. Broncos covered 2.5.
Oh, I'm slam dunk market Boise State minus 2.5. Give me that one right there, Fresh. That's our brown water bets, folks. Make sure you're doing that responsibly. Hey, we love it. I have done terrible last 2 weeks, saving myself at like one of them a piece. So, hey, before you head out of here, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get notified every single time we drop a new episode. Make sure you're checking out spinablesports.com because the Irrational Confidence Podcast is part of spinablesports.com. Interact with us on the socials. Like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast from. Leave us a comment. Tell us we know what we're doing, what we don't know what we're doing. Follow us on Twitter. We interact with people all the time over there and talk with you as well. Fresh, that's all I got. You're heading off to Las Vegas. Enjoy yourself. I'll live vicariously through you. Guys, if you are a college student, like Fresh said, enjoy your time because you could be closing in on 40 watching your buddies go to Las Vegas while you're domesticated at home.
Yep. Enjoy your college experience if you're there. Enjoy life. Enjoy college football, everybody, because we don't have many weeks left. Every week gets more important as we get closer to the playoff and conference title game. So enjoy it. Cherish every single moment. Football is the best. I'll be in Vegas. I can't wait. Leaving on Thursday, staying through Tuesday morning. And with that, bye, y'all.